My name's Emma, and this is the story of how I went from being unwanted to becoming the heir of a business empire. It's not a fairy tale, far from it. It's a story of survival, resilience, and the power of one person's love in a world of indifference. I was born in a small suburban town, the kind where everyone knows everyone else's business. My parents, Jack and Diane, never wanted kids. They were more interested in living the high life than changing diapers. But my grandmother, Eleanor, had other plans. "Jack, Diane, I'll make it worth your while," Eleanor said once. "Have a child, and I'll ensure you're well compensated." That's how I came into this world, as a business transaction. Eleanor was a wealthy businesswoman, owning a thriving company and several properties. She'd always dreamed of having a grandchild to carry on her legacy. My parents, seeing dollar signs, agreed. From the moment I could walk, I knew I wasn't wanted. Jack and Diane provided the basics: food, shelter, clothes, but that was it. There was no warmth, no bedtime stories, no proud smiles when I took my first steps or said my first words. "Quiet down, Emma," Diane would snap whenever I tried to get her attention. "Mommy's busy." Jack was no better. He'd look right through me, as if I was a ghost haunting their perfect life. But then there was Eleanor. My savior, my guardian angel. Her mansion became my sanctuary. The vast gardens were my playground, the lavish rooms, my escape from the cold indifference at home. "Come here, my little treasure," Eleanor would say, opening her arms wide. I'd run into them, feeling safe and loved. Let me tell you about the world. But life has a cruel way of taking away the things we love most. On my 13th birthday, instead of celebration, there was devastation. Eleanor passed away suddenly, leaving a void in my life that nothing could fill. I remember standing at her funeral, feeling lost and alone. Jack and Diane stood behind me, but they might as well have been strangers. They didn't comfort me, didn't hold my hand. They were probably already calculating their inheritance. "Well, that's that," Jack said as we drove home from the cemetery. Back to normal life. But what was normal? Without Eleanor, my world had lost its color. I was now truly alone, trapped in a house with two people who saw me as nothing more than an inconvenience. The years after Eleanor's death were a descent into hell. Jack and Diane, no longer held in check by Eleanor's watchful eye, showed their true colors. They went from indifferent to downright cruel. "Emma, wear this," Diane tossed a faded, too small dress at me one morning before school. "We're not wasting money on new clothes for you." I looked at the dress, recognizing it as something I'd outgrown 2 years ago. "But Mom, it doesn't fit." "Then lose weight," she snapped, not even looking up from her magazine. This became my new normal. While Jack and Diane splurged on expensive dinners, lavish vacations, and wild parties, I was left with hand-me-downs and leftovers. School became my refuge. I threw myself into my studies, staying late in the library just to avoid going home. Books became my friends, knowledge my escape. At home, things were getting worse. Jack and Diane's bullying became more overt. They'd forget to buy groceries, leaving me to fend for myself. They'd blast music late into the night when I was trying to study. "Look at little Emma, playing student," Jack sneered one evening, finding me hunched over my books. "You think you're so smart? You're nothing." His words stung, but I refused to let him see me cry. I was determined to prove him wrong. One summer, they dropped a bombshell on me. "We're going on vacation," Diane announced, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. For a moment, I dared to hope. Were they finally including me? "You're going to summer camp," Jack cut in, crushing my brief flicker of optimism. It wasn't just any camp. It was a notorious place for troubled teens. The staff were more like prison guards than counselors. We were woken at dawn, forced through grueling physical exercises, and subjected to endless lectures about our failings. "You're here because nobody wants you," one staff member, a burly man named Mike, growled at us. "We're going to make you into something useful." But even in this hellish place, I found a glimmer of hope. I met others like me, kids thrown away by those who should have loved them. We formed a bond, a pact to survive. I'm Lily, a girl with bright red hair whispered to me one night after lights out. What's your story? And so, in hushed tones, we shared our pain, our dreams, our determination to overcome. Lily became my first real friend, a sister in all but blood. When the summer ended and I returned home, I was changed. Hardened, yes, but also more determined than ever. I had survived the camp. I could survive anything. How was camp, sweetie? Diane asked with mock concern when I walked through the door. I looked her straight in the eye, something I'd never dared to do before. Educational, I replied, my voice steady. Something in my tone made her step back. Good. Let them see that I wasn't their punching bag anymore. I had a plan now. Education was my way out. I would excel, I would escape, and I would make Eleanor proud. The road ahead was long and hard, but I was ready. The next few years were a balancing act between surviving at home and thriving at school. I threw myself into every opportunity one could find: academic competitions, clubs, part-time jobs. Anything to build my resume and save money for the future I was determined to have. Why are you never home? Jack growled one evening when I returned late from a debate club meeting. I shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. School stuff. Diane chimed in from the couch, not bothering to look up from her phone. Don't waste your time, Jack. She'll amount to nothing, just like Eleanor said. That got my attention. What do you mean, like Eleanor said? Diane's eyes gleamed with malice. Oh, didn't we tell you? Your precious grandmother left a will. You get her fortune if you graduate from university. My heart raced. A fortune? University? This was the first I'd heard of it. Jack laughed, a harsh, grating sound. As if you'll ever make it to university. We're making sure of that. Their words hit me like a physical blow. All this time, they'd been sabotaging me on purpose. The lack of support, the constant put-downs, it was all to keep me from my inheritance. I retreated to my room, my mind whirling. I had to get out of here, but how? I was still a minor, with no money and nowhere to go. The answer came on my 18th birthday. There was no celebration, of course. Jack and Diane had long since stopped acknowledging my birthdays. But this year, they had a special gift for me. Here, Jack thrust a document at me. Happy birthday. It was a copy of Eleanor's will. As Diane had said, it stipulated that I would inherit Eleanor's fortune upon graduating from university. But there was more. Read the fine print, sweetheart, Diane said, her voice sickly sweet. You have to be enrolled within a year of turning 18. And how are you going to do that with no money? I looked up from the document to see them grinning at me, triumph in their eyes. We've had such fun spending Eleanor's money, Jack boasted. Shame you'll never see a penny of it. Something in me snapped. Years of pent-up anger and hurt came pouring out. You're monsters, I spat. Both of you. Eleanor loved me, and you've spent years trying to destroy me out of pure greed. Diane's face hardened. Love? Don't make me laugh. You were just Eleanor's pet project. And now you're nothing. Get out of our house. Gladly, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. I packed a bag with what little I could call my own and walked out, slamming the door behind me. I was homeless, penniless, and heartbroken. But I was also free. I found myself on Lily's doorstep, tears streaming down my face. Emma, she gasped, pulling me into a hug. What happened? Through sobs, I told her everything. Lily listened, her face growing darker with each word. You're staying with us, she declared when I finished. My parents won't mind. We'll figure this out together. Living with Lily and her family was like stepping into a different world. Her parents, Tom and Sarah, welcomed me with open arms, showing me a kindness I'd almost forgotten existed. One morning, about a week after I'd moved in, I received an unexpected call. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar, but the name he gave sent a jolt through me. Emma? This is Mr. Thompson, your grandmother Eleanor's personal lawyer. We need to meet. It's important. Want me to come with you? Lily offered, squeezing my hand. Mr. Thompson's office was in a sleek downtown building. As we entered his plush office, I couldn't help but feel out of place in my second-hand clothes. Emma, he greeted me warmly, then nodded to Lily. And you must be a friend. Please, sit down. Once we were settled, he got straight to the point. Emma, your grandmother was a remarkable woman. She was also incredibly perceptive. She anticipated that your parents might misuse their position as your guardians. So she made certain arrangements. He pulled out a file and slid it across the desk to me. This is a trust fund, set up in your name. It's specifically for your education. My hand shook as I opened the file. The amount inside made my eyes widen. It was more than enough to cover tuition at even the most prestigious universities. Tears welled up in my eyes. Even from beyond the grave, Eleanor was looking out for me. There's more, Mr. Thompson continued. Eleanor left a letter for you. She asked me to give it to you when you were ready for university. He handed me an envelope, Eleanor's elegant handwriting spelling out my name on the front. With trembling fingers, I opened it and began to read. My dearest Emma. If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. I'm sorry for that. I wish I could be there to see you grow into the remarkable woman I know you'll become. I've watched you, my darling girl. I've seen your strength, your resilience, your kind heart. You are everything I could have hoped for in a granddaughter and more. I know your path hasn't been easy. Jack and Diane, they're my greatest disappointment. But you, Emma, you're my greatest joy. This fund is my gift to you. Use it to chase your dreams, to build the life you deserve. Don't let anyone tell you you're not capable or worthy. You are extraordinary, Emma. Never forget that. I love you, my sweet girl. Always. Grandma Eleanor. By the time I finished reading, I was sobbing. Lily had her arm around me, her own eyes glistening with tears. You did it, Em. You're going to university. I hugged her back, my mind already racing with possibilities. I was going to make Eleanor proud. I was going to build a life she'd be honored to see. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. I applied to several top universities, focusing on financial management programs. It felt right, a way to honor Eleanor's legacy and prepare myself for the responsibility that awaited me. The day the first acceptance letter arrived, I couldn't believe my eyes. I got in, I whispered, staring at the prestigious university's logo at the top of the page. You got in? Lily screeched, grabbing the letter. Emma, you got in. We jumped around the kitchen, screaming and laughing like little kids. Tom and Sarah rushed in, alerted by the commotion, and soon joined in the celebration. As the acceptance letters continued to roll in, I felt a growing sense of vindication. Jack and Diane had tried their best to crush my dreams, but here I was, proving them wrong. The night before I left for university, I stood outside my old house. I hadn't been back since the day I'd walked out, but I felt I needed this closure. For a moment, I was tempted to knock, to show them the acceptance letters, to rub my success in their faces. But as I stood there, I realized something: they didn't matter anymore. My life was my own now, and I didn't need their approval or acknowledgement. I turned and walked away, leaving behind the house and the painful memories it held. My future was waiting. University life was everything I'd dreamed of and more. I made friends quickly, drawn to other students who, like me, were determined to make the most of this opportunity. There was Michael, a whip-smart economics major with a dry sense of humor, Zoe, an international student with a flair for mathematics, and Jamal, whose insights in our business ethics class always left me thinking. I joined clubs, went to parties, responsibly, of course, and even tried my hand at rock climbing. Each new experience, each challenge overcome, made me feel stronger, more confident. But amid all the excitement and new experiences, I never lost sight of my goal. I studied hard, often staying in the library long after my friends had called it a night. "You're going to burn yourself out," Michael warned one night, finding me buried in financial reports at 2 a.m. I shook my head. "I can't slow down. This is my shot, Michael. I have to make it count." He looked at me for a long moment, then pulled up a chair. "All right then, let's go through this together." That was the night Michael became more than just a friend. As we pored over balance sheets and cash flow statements, trading ideas, and challenging each other's assumptions, I felt a connection I'd never experienced before. As the semesters flew by, I found myself thriving in ways I never thought possible. My relationship with Michael blossomed, providing a warmth and support I'd never known in a romantic partnership. But I was careful not to lose myself in the relationship. My studies and my future remained my primary focus. As my knowledge of finance and business grew, so did my confidence. I began to see Eleanor's company not just as an inheritance, but as a responsibility, a chance to make a real difference in the world. During my junior year, I landed an internship at a prestigious financial firm. It was grueling work, with long hours and demanding clients, but I loved every minute of it. "Johnson wants the report by 9 a.m. tomorrow," my supervisor barked one evening, dropping a stack of files on my desk at 8 p.m. I nodded, already rolling up my sleeves. "I'll have it done." The other interns looked at me with a mixture of awe and concern. "How do you do it?" one of them asked during a rare coffee break. "You never seem to get tired." I shrugged. "I've got a lot to prove," was all I said. What I didn't say was that every late night, every difficult task mastered, felt like a victory over Jack and Diane. Every step forward was a step further away from the life they'd tried to condemn me to. As graduation approached, I found myself at the top of my class. Job offers started pouring in, big firms, promising big money and bigger opportunities. "You should take the offer from Goldman," Michael advised as we pored over the options one night. "It's the best springboard for your career." I bit my lip, considering. The offer was tempting, but something held me back. I think I need to go back home first." Michael looked surprised. "Home? You mean?" I nodded. "I need to claim my inheritance. Eleanor's company, it's more than just money. It's her legacy. I need to honor that." Understanding dawned in Michael's eyes. He pulled me into a hug. "Then that's what you'll do. And I'll be right there with you, if you want me to be." Graduation day arrived in a flurry of black gowns and flying caps. As I stood with my classmates, diploma in hand, I felt a surge of triumph. I'd done it. Despite everything, I'd done it. The drive back to my hometown felt surreal. As familiar landmarks passed by, I couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed and how much hadn't. Michael sat beside me, a steady presence, his hand occasionally squeezing mine in silent support. Our first stop was Mr. Thompson's office. He greeted us warmly, pride evident in his eyes as he shook my hand. "Congratulations on your graduation, Emma. Eleanor would be so proud." "Thank you," I said, my voice steady. "I'm here to claim my inheritance." Mr. Thompson nodded, his expression turning serious. "Of course. I prepared all the necessary paperwork. But Emma, you should know, your parents won't give up easily." I steeled myself. "I'm counting on it." The next few days were a whirlwind of legal meetings and paperwork. I pored over financial reports, familiarizing myself with the current state of Eleanor's, now my, company. Finally, the day came to confront Jack and Diane. We pulled up to the house, my childhood prison, and for a moment, I felt like that scared little girl again. But then I remembered who I was now. I strode up to the door, Michael a step behind me, and rang the bell. The door swung open, revealing Diane. Her eyes widened in shock. "Emma?" she gasped. Then her eyes narrowed. "What are you doing here?" "Hello, Diane," I said coolly. "We need to talk. Is Jack home?" Before she could answer, Jack appeared behind her. Well, look what the cat dragged in. I met his gaze steadily. I'm here to claim my inheritance. All of it. They laughed, but I detected a note of unease. You? Claim the inheritance? Jack sneered. Don't be ridiculous. I pulled out a folder from my bag. I've graduated from university. Top of my class, actually. Here's my diploma, and here are the papers Mr. Thompson prepared. This house, the company, all of Eleanor's assets, they're mine now. The color drained from their faces as they realized I was serious. Diane's hand flew to her throat. You can't do this. We're your parents. Parents? I scoffed. You've never been parents to me. You're just the people who made my childhood a living hell. Jack's face turned red with anger. Now listen here, you ungrateful little. No, you listen, I cut him off, my voice hard. You have 48 hours to vacate this house. As for the company, I'll be taking over as CEO effective immediately. Your services are no longer required. With that, I turned on my heel and walked away, leaving them sputtering in the doorway. As we got back in the car, Michael let out a low whistle. Remind me never to get on your bad side, he said, a mix of awe and admiration in his voice. I let out a shaky laugh, the adrenaline starting to wear off. Let's go. We have a company to save. The next few weeks were intense. I threw myself into learning every aspect of the business, working long hours to undo the damage Jack and Diane had done. It wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, of fear. But every time I felt overwhelmed, I remembered Eleanor's words. You are extraordinary, Emma. Never forget that. Slowly but surely, things began to turn around. I implemented new strategies, cut unnecessary expenses, and brought in fresh talent. The company began to thrive once again. One morning, as I was reviewing quarterly reports, my assistant buzzed in. Ms. Emma, there's a Mr. and Mrs. Harrison here to see you. They don't have an appointment, but they're quite insistent. I froze, recognizing the names immediately. Jack and Diane. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself. Send them in, please. They walked in, looking significantly less polished than I remembered. Jack's suit was wrinkled, and Diane's designer clothes seemed a bit worn. The past year hadn't been kind to them. Well, if it isn't our darling daughter, Jack sneered, but I could hear the desperation beneath his bravado. I leaned back in my chair, fixing them with a cool stare. What do you want? Diane stepped forward, her eyes pleading. Emma, sweetie, we've had time to think. We realize we made mistakes. Mistakes? I cut her off. Is that what you call years of neglect and abuse? Jack's face reddened. Now listen here. No, you listen, I snapped, standing up. You're here because you're desperate. You've blown through whatever money you managed to squirrel away, haven't you? And now you think you can waltz in here and what? Ask for a handout? They had the decency to look ashamed, but I wasn't done. Let me make this clear. You are not my parents. You lost that right a long time ago. I owe you nothing. Diane began to sob dramatically. But we're family. Family? I laughed bitterly. Family doesn't treat each other the way you treated me. Lily's family showed me more love in a few months than you did in 18 years. I walked around my desk, standing tall before them. I'm going to give you a choice. Option 1, you leave now and never contact me again. Option 2, I call security and have you removed, and then I press charges for all the years of child neglect and emotional abuse. Your choice. Jack's face contorted with rage. You ungrateful little. Security it is, then. I cut him off, reaching for my phone. Wait. Diane cried out. We'll go. As they shuffled towards the door, I felt a twinge of something. Not regret, exactly, but a sort of hollow sadness for what could have been. The past no longer had a hold on me. I was free to shape my future, and I intended to make it a bright one. The next few years flew by in a whirlwind of success and growth. One morning, as I was preparing for a board meeting, my assistant knocked on my office door. "Ms. Emma, there's a young woman here to see you. She says her name is Sophie and that it's important." Curious, I agreed to see her. A moment later, a girl who couldn't have been more than 18 walked in. She looked nervous, her hands fidgeting with the straps of her worn backpack. "Ms. Emma," she began, her voice shaky. I need your help." As she told her story, I felt a chill run down my spine. Sophie's tale was eerily familiar: neglectful parents, dreams of education, a grandmother who had tried to help but passed away. It was like looking into a mirror of my past. "I heard about you," Sophie finished, her eyes shining with hope. "About how you overcame everything. I thought, maybe you could help me too." For a moment, I was speechless. Then, I made a decision that would change both our lives. "Sophie," I said, my voice gentle but firm. "I can't give you money directly. That wouldn't solve the real problem. But I can offer you something better, a chance." Over the next few months, I threw myself into establishing the Eleanor Chance Foundation. Named after my grandmother, it would provide scholarships, mentoring, and support to young people from difficult backgrounds. The day we launched the foundation was one of the proudest of my life. As I stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd of supporters, journalists, and most importantly, the first group of scholarship recipients, I felt overwhelmed with emotion. "I stand here today," I began, my voice steady despite the lump in my throat. "Not just as a successful businesswoman, but as someone who knows firsthand the difference a single opportunity can make." I shared my story, the neglect, the struggles, but also the kindness of people like Lily's family and the unwavering love of my grandmother. "The Eleanor Chance Foundation isn't just about giving money," I continued. "It's about giving hope. It's about showing these bright young minds that their past doesn't define their future. That with hard work, determination, and a little help, they can achieve their dreams." As I finished my speech, the room erupted in applause. Later that evening, as the event wound down, Michael found me standing alone, looking out over the city skyline. He kissed my temple. "Eleanor would be proud of you. And so am I."